Mahila. Yeah, I told Richard. I told Richard. I said, "No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna swim the Mississippi." I told him he was sitting down in our dorm, a dorm that he later stayed in my room. I gave him part of my bed, and he was cool. They called him Rafiki, and the thing was, is I said, "No, you can stay here." And before all that, he would get kind of strained, you know, um, going back and forth with him about some anger things, like how I was with Craig, with stumbling at the information, like going down the rabbit hole he would cause me to stumble. It was like that with Richard, but he would kind of get mad, and you could see it in his face. His face would get red like a native, seriously, like a native. And the thing was, um, I was cool with him though. It was never anything too personal or too much to the soul. And I told him I'm going to do it. And he was kind of like, why? But he didn't say it like that. He said it like, what are you trying to prove or something, sort of thing. And then, H had that dream, and by then he was already out of the picture. But I would have liked to have seen what he thought of all that. Whenever I was living at Quail Meadow, and that really screwed things up because I should have been with the troops at the campus, so then I could tell them about H's dream and we could figure it out together instead of trying to do it all with my roommates who all betrayed me. And see, Richard was with this sexy girl. I think her name was Taylor, and I think they had sex in my bed in the little lion's den there, which is all right. But the thing was, she ended up getting with Parker. Now Parker and Richard had similarities, but I would choose Richard because, um, Rafiki was a good guy, and I think Parker kind of had that Cowie mentality that Tier was against. Cody was against a certain Cali mentality of for show and things like that. And I think Parker was more like that. But the thing was, Parker, when we went to the camping trip in Prescott, Parker showed his true colors and was all right. But he did sleep in the tent with the other guys, and I was the only one in the car. And Woody was in the other car. It was me and Woody in the cars. And then, Zane and the other guys were in the cars as well. I think with Woody or something. And then they all looked at me weird when I approached the tent the next day. And see, I had climbed the mountain with Zane and the other guy, and they helped each other across the mountain. And I got stuck on the other side. I was on the other side of it and had to figure out how I got off the mountain. And I had to climb up, and it was like if I missed my footing at all, I would have been dead. Like it was pretty steep, man. Like I was on like a little crevice. And see, whenever I fell with my dad and Jeremy, it was actually like I lifted my body down, and held on. And then I thought I can make this jump because it's not that far, but it was actually farther than I thought. And like, I shattered my foot and broke my back. Like, it was bad. And people want to say, oh, that was Brokeback Mountain or something like that. No, man, like, that's what it was for Joshua. Now, Joshua, I look at in the Force's sense. Like, you have to look at it that way and not be like, oh, this is, something bad. Like, oh, he's not that good or something. Like, no, man. Joshua is another collection of what I've done. Like, you don't need to look at me different because of Joshua. Like, Joshua Jackson and Arnold Schwarzenegger are both Joshuas for their time. And like, that's what they represent. It's for the industry, man. Joshua is for the industry to get you ready for the fifth age. That's what they do. Why do you think they had Predator? We're talking about Esau. Why do you think they had Running Man, talking about getting over your fears and making it through the pitfalls of the Mayan and Aztecs? Because the peoples go after the fallen angels. The peoples, are part of that idol worship that goes on of the true Dan system. Are you ready for that Dan system, man? To see people actually worshiping an image? Are you ready to, send people to that or defeat people that won't go with that? That's what you got to be ready for, man. It's going to be like that Lady Gaga that I showed at Columbia. That's what it's going to be for real. And if you think we're doing that now, we ain't doing that now, man. Have you seen masses of people with chainsaws and whips and people that got a healing mechanism that was forced upon them? And like, man, like, you got to be ready for that. Like, that's what's coming. And you got to know in your heart, like, you're forced